Hello, so today I'm going to talk about the patch notes. These are the ones of the 8th of July, as you can see on the top. I'm going to try to do them a bit closer to the release, but I actually didn't think of doing those, and someone pointed out that it would be nice to put a video to explain how they're going to change the game rather than just reading them like they do on the official stream. So the very first thing is the new characters. As you can see, there's a few of them. And some of them got EE, some got R3 changes. So the first thing is we have a new Endor character. I'm not going to spend too much time reading exactly what they can do. His ace is a duel between Endor and Light. It's decent, but until it's EE, it won't be that great. His strategy is a healer style, so increase heal and action bar. The thing that's nice is that he's going to decrease incoming damage and recover the health in the position by 10% of an action, meaning that unlike Virgil, he doesn't actually need to try penetrate. So when he's low on health and he passes around the line, it's actually going to work. But it's not a 15%, it's a 10%, and there's no spirit generation, but there's some resistance. So it's a win and lose. It's more kind of a defender kind of healer. He does have super play. So super play means, well, in this case, it's called double chance. He gets an extra turn with a 50% chance of an attack or a block. So what that means is you could use the first passive twice, meaning a 20% heal, actually outranking Virgil in healing and annoyingness. And his third passive is increased critical rate and reflex within the position. To be honest, that is completely useless for a backline, at least the critical rate part. I'm guessing reflex could be nice, but no one actually stacks reflex on a front line, so that's going to be the most useless skill ever. So he's actually a very good player if you're Endor. If you draw him, I would point out, try to use him, test him out. We don't have, again, all the information on his stats, his max up stats, so we don't know altogether how he's going to be. We can see them in the player book, but as you know, that's never really the perfect way to see them. So we can't really judge him yet. The second player is Sky. She got an extreme evolution. I already had her. She used to be complete trash. I used her as a strength material, I think, up till now 9 times. Again, I have a special light luck, so I just keep getting anything that's light. So I kept getting her. I swear to God, I just every time I see her in the draw, I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to me? So she has been changed, and she's going to take the biggest advantage out of the passer changes. So I'm going to be going down to those just in a minute. Her skills have actually been completely changed, to be honest. I'm not going to make an as detailed principle as the last one because it's not that important, but all you really need to know with her is that now, when she attacks, she's now going to be able to decrease the cooldown of her active skills by 50% and incoming damage by 30%. So that's really great. Now, at the EE version, it's going to be changed to on top of it to activate when she's being stolen upon, meaning if she holds the ball or she attacks, basically any action, it's going to activate. It's going to decrease the cooldown and the incoming damage and even increase reflex. So that's basically making her some sort of badass stealer for frontline and allowing her to stack her active. The big weakness in this is that if you look at her skills, she's not going to have some good pass effect. So she can keep making active passes, doing some sort of action bar recovery towards your striker, meaning if you don't have a fast striker, it's pretty nice, but it's not a high value. So if you have someone like a Kirin or someone whose strike has some sort of bonus effect, it can be interesting. If you're using something that's like a one-shot striker, a hero, a Vito's, or even if you're trying to run a Vonchi, she just doesn't work. So you want to look at that. She now has value, you could use her, but again, it's usually active elemental shooters that are going to find great value in her. Now, there is Gerard. He was considered also trash. His skin has been upgraded. To be honest, I actually liked his own skin, old skin. Well, the new one's like more fancy-ish, but I don't know. I really like the old one. His E is actually pretty cool. The skills have been fixed. They are still not that interesting. I mean, it's really bad that they're still not able to make him good, even while giving him an E. So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, even the one of the rare ones who was nice has been removed. Increased attack power by 30% of an attack accumulated 5 times is now replaced by only once and giving 30% reflex, who's really sucky to be honest. You know, on top of it, it doesn't stack when you're not attacking. So that's just really bad. Zone weakening, decreased defense and critical resistance with a penetration or pass. I'm going to say he's not going to try a pass unless he's closely done. And even then, 30% defense and critical resistance. I don't understand what kind of backline is going to have that. So, no idea why this skill exists. And his other skills to start with were pretty bad. So, I'm just going to say don't get him. If you have him recalled for any other striker, I mean, no, I'm pretty sure his class is an attacker. So maybe Malcolm, Jeet, again, he's season 1, so you can't get everything, but there are a lot of good recalls. Do not get him. Now, skin-wise, to be honest, I think that they've started being a little bit lazy on the skins. They're just like throwing any skin they can. Like this skin is extremely similar to the Anna skin who was taken out last patch. It's a bit better because the Anna one just didn't work. But I don't know. I feel it doesn't keep the essence of Black Tortoise. I wouldn't get it if it was up to me. But again, this is something you can just go purchase. Now we have the Zerbo skin. It's actually pretty cool depending on how you're looking at it. I feel like he's kind of a bit making fun of us. He's looking at the bull and saying, try beat me, aka the bull being William in this case. So it could work out. Again, none of them are some too fancy skins. It's really not that bad. Okay, none of them are going to be one of those more expensive ones with a voice change or John Bender. So now, just here a word of drop weights. I'm not going to really go down on these. Maybe I'll just talk about them when I'm done. The featured improvements, those are usually things that you should actually read for the improvements. They actually give you some information on other things. So the first one is going to be DU007 Nute Thunder Boss has been added. Usually when this appears, that means we're going to be able to get her in the following month. So if any of you goes to their player book and sees, oh, Nute, I might be interested in her. This is going to be for the Thunder teams, of course. Well, you're going to know, you can already start preparing the stones, preparing the materials to prepare and center in your team. Again, since she's new, we don't have a lot of experience with her. I can't judge because, well, never been added to the game, so I can give opinions on how she'd be set up, but I really can't give any judgment. Now, female Balteon skin, this was a paid event. So, well, simply whoever paid during that event has it, who didn't pay doesn't have it, and you will never have it. I personally have her, so I will be one of those guys who you will blame for being a whale. Even though I think I might have spent like 250 to 300 max on the game for over a year. And the last one is a rival match. Again, it just allows you to know when it is. So balancing, this is actually what's the most important part about this patch. It is the reason why Sky now works. So they've reduced the cooldowns on passes, but at the cost of the pass effect. So this is something very important. So line passes, this is going to be your frontliners. They've been reduced to 10 minutes. The forward pass, meaning if you're going to be looking at this, is going to be usually your midline who's going to have this. The most popular player as an example for this would be Sammy. And long pass, there are a few actually. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say the Season 2 of Verizon for the Dark team is actually really good with that. But again, for the last two, it's not as interesting as the front line. Now, the problem is that they've played with the pass effect. So for the line pass and the forward pass, they have been nerfed. So again, the line pass has been nerfed in my eyes the hardest. The forward and line pass, so sort of they weren't that big. So it in the end, they actually became equal, who's kind of weird. But on a global scale, line pass has been reduced 40%, forward and long pass 20%. So again, these have been done for all skills. There has been a message of error if you have the Thunder Legendary Backline Passer. This will be eventually fixed. Knowing BB, it could take either the next patch, the patch after that, or a patch even after that, because very often the bugs are not fixed. I'm pointing out to that super play bug, who we all know is there and is still not being fixed. And they even made an announcement and then they removed it about fixing it. So a lot of people are just getting really pissed because this is never being fixed and this is becoming a huge exploit. So now let's go again on the passing. So they've not just touched the pass effect, they've touched another bunch of the bonuses and they've reduced it. So for crit rates, they've lowered them. For forward and long passes, everything's become equal. So again, they're trying to make that between a line of forward and a long, it basically is the same thing. So it's to try to push you not just to use line passers because they noticed the other types were rarely used. Now this is something that I'm extremely pissed about. They decided to make a Balton only nerf. Okay, to be honest, Balton was one of the rare ones who did this, but come on. Okay, they've reduced his crit rate by 5% on his pass. So I'm still not happy about this. I find this is pure bullshit and they shouldn't touch Balton ever. But sadly, we don't control this, BB does. And come on, how much can you keep nerfing them? Now for critical damage, again, for forward and long passes, there's actually been an increase. Like I'm telling you, they're trying to push those players back in the game. For penetration power and long passes, again, they've equalized them and they've reduced them. Again, this is going to be very frustrating for players who don't have high pen. They're not going to be able to rely as much on passes anymore. So this is something very important, especially when you're running something like a William or any other player who you used to say, it's fine, I'm at 100 pen just because I got a passer. Let's not look at that. Attack power, well, again, you know, it's just a damage. It's going to be reduced. I mean, and for a line forward pass, yeah, they've been like, oh, actually they've been buffed. But let's be honest, compared to pass effect, this is nothing. It really means nothing. Spirit recovery on line passes has been hugely increased. This is going to push a lot of people to go towards passer that recover spirits. I know there's an Endor passer who can do that, who has now become very popular. So I'm just going to slowly go down. These are some of the adjustments. These adjustments are going to finally kill the frontline meta. So not only did they reduce the time, not only did they reduce the pass effect, but now they're going to tackle the two most cancerous frontline players known to this game, Luca and Scylla. So Nari gets a small little change. It's actually a buff. So they've been increased. They've increased their skill. They're trying to push you to go towards Nari. More pass effect, more reflex. It's perfectly fine. So that's just a little boost in case you have her, you'll be happy. If you don't, it's not worth going just for that. Now Luca, as we all know her, she's a really annoying one who's going to be slowing your line down. So you're going to see that a lot of things have been made that are annoying. So first, this is actually a buff in this case, but it's not going to be worth the nerfs that are going to be coming. Recover additional spirit with a pass has now been changed with recover spirit with a pass or steal. So this is going to be applied to actually a pretty decent bunch of characters. I'm not even sure all of them. Not even all of them are passers like Ustiel, but it's just nice to have a little buff. It means, you know, spirit can be obtained more in one way. 20% basically means 0.2 of a bar. It's not that epic, but it's not going to hurt. And now this is the skill and the thing we've all been waiting for. Icy Road nerf. So Icy Road decreased the action speed within the position by 30 to 10%. Yes, you heard me right. 20% decrease. and for 15 to 5 minutes, meaning it's not going to be stacking half the match. And for the second version, it's gone down to 20% and still with 5 minutes. I swear to God, I used to hate that skill so badly. Now it's gone. We don't care anymore. And a lot of people who have her are not going to replace her because this was her bread and butter. Her skill at Extreme Evolution, increased action speed, pass effect, and crit rate, has now been reduced to action speed 15%, pass effect 30%, and crit rate 20%. So they're taking even more action speed out of the equation. They're saying, here, take 10% back of the pass effect we've taken away from you. And basically, they're nerfing everything that used to be good about her. So yes, she has a recall. Sadly, I've even done a video about it. It's not worth it. There's nothing good. Now, I'm going to just go down the last few players. Evelyn, Wormwind. Natural influence has been changed. Increase attack power and critical damage to increase critical rate and critical damage within the position. I'm going to consider that a very decent buff. So this is not a recall because it's actually a buff, because attack power is not as nice as critical damage and critical rates. So Scylla Light, get ready for the second beautiful nerf of this time. The stat of normal, evolved, and extreme evolutions have been increased. Why? Because they're screwing her everywhere else. The pass effect of light formation have been changed. Previously increased attack power and penetration. Well, you thought this was good? It was. Now get ready to cry. Change to increase attack power 30%. Okay, we notice. Penetration 15. 15% were lost. That almighty stat is gone. Now one passive stone can outrank her as a totem. All those people using William, you ain't got 100 pen anymore. And 15% life. Seriously, tell me who needs this on the front line? I just want to see it just once in my life why this would be valuable. And the passive Crest of Wisdom has been changed. Recover spirit by 50 to 20% and I by 30%. Basically, they just removed more spirit generation. So she's also going to be effectively recalled. So it's pretty nice. I'm not going to complain about that. Now, Shura, she's one of the players who is already very good, but they've played with one of her passives, and I'm going to say it depends how you've been using her. So it's really questionable if you're happy or not. So you've changed her passive to decrease enemies' critical resistance by 5 to 10% for 5 minutes with a 50 to 60% chance whenever the enemy within the position makes an action. It used to accumulate 15 times, now 5. So if you actually do the math, you lost. Because 5 times 10 makes 50, 10 times 5 makes 50, 5 times 15 makes 75%. So lowering 75% of critical resistance. Imagine they have someone with super play. That is insane. They can't resist your crit. Your next crit shot is going to destroy them. So in PvE, this is clearly a nerf. In PvP, where it's actually much harder to keep the ball there for 5 minutes, even after 2 strikes, they're just usually going to penetrate back out. I'm going to rank that as a buff. So now I'm just going to, I've explained what's in this patch, but how is it going to actually translate in the game? Something that's usually not explained to you and was very frustrating, because then you just realize everyone's changed their formation and you're that one guy who still doesn't know what to play. So how this is going to translate is the front lines are going to change, finally. And now what's going to be very common is going to be on the left side a passer, on the mid an attacker, and on the right your striker. In my case, it's a little bit different, but this is the formation. You can also run it in this order, by the way. Attacker, passer, striker. Well, mine is a little bit more different because I have one who has a special condition to be powerful, but this is how it's going to go. And the players you're going to find now that have become much more valuable are going to be in the Endor side. We have Elaine, who has become extremely powerful. In the light category, we now have Milky Way, who is basically in the top of the players that you want to get. She doesn't have an EE yet, and believe me, we want it desperately. She's right here, our great friend Milky Way, and she had a skin a while back, so if you have it, it's pretty nice. In Endor, you're going to be finding a lot of Guinevere's around town. And maybe a few more linemen, but they're much less popular. I've seen a little bit of an increase in the amount of Genesis, but again, it's not something major, and those are with certain types of shooters that have action bars and stuff. It's not the best thing to look at. Sky is now being used in frontline in a few more formations. Luca is now being kicked off the island as people don't want her, and Milky Way can actually do better than she does. Another bunch of players that are now getting more used, if you have them, are Shura, especially in PvP. So she's now gaining a lot of value. And in the Endor, there is, if I remember right, it was Nari who was getting used more. So again, these are a lot of limitations because some of the good passers are Season 2 and are Legends, but this is how the patch has changed the game. So if you don't want to change your formation, how this is going to translate is your active pass is going to go on more often, but it's going to be weaker. For PvE and especially Coliseum of Trial, it's become extremely annoying because you can't one-tap those people. On top of it, they've just added the co-op defense, so we just can't finish it, especially those finish on your 4th shot. You can't do it. On top of it, if you got an active striker, in the worst case you steal it back, you can't do anything. So I hope this has helped people understand exactly what the patch did. And I think I'm going to try to do one of these 2 or 3 days after the patch notes for every one of the following patches. Peace out.